The gentleman for Virginia, Mr. Connolly, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. You know, been through a lot of hearings, seen a lot of member panels, and I must say, I find it disconcerting that we are not able to ask questions of two of our witnesses. If they're here to simply present their thoughts and their idle opinions, so be it. But if they are presenting themselves as quasi-experts on censorship, I think we have a right to question them. But even if Senator Schmidt and Attorney General Landry aren't here, I think it's important to note that every single witness of the majority took part in the effort to overturn the 2020 election. And all three of them have interconnecting relationships, very convenient for a panel. If we turn our attention to the screen, please, the email sent to state attorneys general.
Suspend the clock for me while we get that going.
I thank the chair. I don't think that's it. It's the email from Mr. Sauer. Mr. Chairman, I don't understand our technical problems, but Mr. Sauer sent out an email to state's attorney
Start
general.
the clock again for me if you're going to testify. Okay. Gentlemen, continue.
Okay. And asked for responses by 12/9, 1 o'clock. Mr. Seligman, this email is signed by John Sauer. Is that the gentleman to your left?
I believe so.
When Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, Mr. Sauer was working for then Missouri Attorney General Schmidt, who testified here this morning. And they worked together to find 16 other Republican state attorneys general, including Attorney General Landry, who's running for governor, to join them in an amicus in support of a lawsuit to overcome the election. Now, his team filed this case on December 8th, and the Supreme Court rejected it 3 days later. Why did the Supreme Court reject?
So the Supreme Court rejected, so it didn't issue an opinion explaining why it rejected that. So I can't speculate about what was going through the minds of the justices. But I can tell you about the legal flaws in the complaint that rendered that decision correct. So the state of Texas sued other states, including Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona, for allegations that there were flaws in the election in those states. And the state of Texas claimed that it was injured as a state because the alleged maladministration of the election in other states somehow undermined its own sovereign rights in the Electoral College. And that is a radical and unprecedented claim that no court has ever accepted.
Including the Supreme Court.
Including the Supreme Court.
And one must say, they kind of dismissed it with dispatch.
That's correct. It was
3 days later.
Yes, it was 3 or 4 days later. Now, the Supreme Court dismissed it unanimously. A point of clarification about that, there was a concurrence in the dismissal by Justice Thomas and I believe Justice Alito explaining that they would accept the bill of complaint because they think as a matter of Supreme Court procedure, the Supreme Court can't just refuse jurisdiction, but then they went out of their way to say they would grant no other relief, which is to say that they would reject the claim on the merits.
So the allegations in the lawsuit range from claims of illegal voting to accusations about Dominion voting machines, now the subject of a civil defamation case with Fox News. Even Fox News reporters called the claims contained in the lawsuit dangerously insane. Why might Fox News reporters call this kind of lawsuit dangerously insane?
Well, the factual allegations that I believe they were referring to are demonstrably incorrect and have no basis in reality whatsoever. So, and it was apparent at the time as well. This is not something that just became apparent in the months and years after those allegations came to light.
Well, it's certainly comforting to know that we have a panel that includes 3 people who are involved in a lawsuit that has been declared dangerously insane by none other than Fox News reporters. That's a comfort. I thank you, Mr. Seligman, for your testimony, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Utah, Mr. Stewart, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Seligman, I'm curious, just as a sidebar, were you embarrassed by what happened at Stanford Law School a few weeks ago?
So I'd like to clarify that I am...
In regards to the suppression of free speech with the federal court, district court judge?
So I'd like to clarify that I am
Never
testifying
mind.
here on my own behalf and not on behalf of...
I understand that. I'm